Okay, guys, we are going to do something a little bit different today. Last season, we only had two episodes that were related. But starting out this second season, we are going to start with this series. And it's one that I am super excited about, if I'm being honest. It is about unifying the diaspora. So I wanted to go over a few things before we hopped into it. One is, what the heck is even diaspora mean, right? You'll hear diaspora, you'll hear diaspora. I don't know how else it's pronounced. I say diaspora. But when we talk about the diaspora, we are talking about anywhere Black people are scattered throughout the world. We're talking about from Africa to Europe to South America to North America to Australia, wherever we are talking about where we are in the world. So when we say unifying, which is going to be this series name, Unifying the Diaspora, that's what we're talking about. What does it mean to unify Black folks no matter where we are, right? This means what does Blackness mean in America compared to what it means in Brazil, compared to what it means in the motherland, to all the countries in the motherland? What does that mean? And why is it that far too often when Black people come from different countries that there's this unspoken and sometimes very spoken rift between us? How can we get rid of that? How can we unify and become one? Because far too often that's not the case. And so I wanted to take this time to really educate us and figure out, where is the history? Like, why is it that African Americans feel this way towards Africans? Or why is it that Dominicans feel this way towards Haitians, or Haitians feel this way towards African Americans, or whatever it is? Why are these things happening? Why are we not just Black folks whenever we come to America? Because nobody's going, oh, you have an accent, you're a different kind of Black. Like, when they see us, we Black, right? So I wanted to hop into this series letting you know that I think we are in for a treat and learning about all the different places in which we are and what that means when we have come to the US. One thing I can say about my upbringing is, now, it wasn't until high school that I was able to I had the opportunity to be around more races and ethnicities. Growing up, it was Black, white, Latino, and by Latino, I mean the majority of the population was Mexican. And so when I transferred schools in high school, that is when I was able to be around Indians and Filipinos. And there were just so many different ethnicities that I was able to learn from. And so while I haven't been able to travel the world has been able to travel to me. And that is something that I want us to do in this episode. So I wanted to introduce it before the introduction so that we would understand what's happening with this series and why I wanted to share it. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is, we about to get unified. Okay, love y'all.
Hey, Black Joy and Bootstraps, the podcast that you really need. Helping my Black community. Good vibes, good energy. Black Joy and Bootstraps, talk financial literacy. Love and education. Want to see my people elevated. Yeah.
Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Black Joy and Bootstraps Season 2. I am your host, Phylicia Jimenez, and I am here today with my boy, Benoni Sowah. And today we're going to be talking all about unifying the diaspora, from here to the motherland to everywhere else that we are. That's what we're going to talk about today. Benoni, can you say what's up for the folks and just introduce yourself really quick?
Yes, Phylicia, thank you for the privilege. My name is Benoni Sowah. I'm originally from Ghana, been in the States for 12 years. I went to BYU, Idaho. That's how I met Phylicia. I'm in the Navy, married with a son. He's 4. And yeah, that's me.
Benoni, I saw this thing the other day where it was like, I cannot remember what it said, but I shared it. And it was like, talking about how you don't know anyone's kids in real life, but you're like little cyber aunties and uncles. So like the kids, you post your little back to school pictures and you're like, oh, I cannot believe little Benoni is going to kindergarten this year. And that's literally how I feel. Like, you say 4 and I'm like, Benoni, there's no way. Like, you just posted the I have a baby pictures. Like,
I know.
My gosh.
They grow very fast.
I'm shook. So anyway, I want to hop right into it because today is super good and I'm so excited about everything. And I just know y'all are going to fall in love with Benoni. Let me tell you, because I have to say this, Benoni, when we were in college, I met this man, and y'all, Benoni can cook. Like, don't he just look like somebody that can cook? Like, Y'all, Benoni can cook. So this man, we met, he became my brother instantly, cooked for me, became my real brother. The only thing that separates us is that we are not blood and location. But anyway, so let's go ahead and get started. Benoni, you said you are from Ghana. I want this to kind of be like high on the hog, even though we can't physically go there. I want you to tell us all about Ghana, because I feel like I'm just a little bit ignorant. And, you know, I've got friends from all over the continent, but I feel like I'm a little bit ignorant. So tell us a little bit about Ghana. Tell us a little bit about the history, pre, during, post-colonial colonization. Just tell us a little bit about it. Where is it located? That's where we start. We know it's in Africa, but where?
So Ghana is on the west coast of Ghana. So if this is the map, Ghana is sitting somewhere on the west coast. It's not, well, it has a population of currently 24 million people. Before colonial era, it used to be a huge kingdom. It used to be part of the Ghana Empire. So the Ghana Empire at the time consisted of Mali, present-day Ghana, Togo, Benin, all those areas were one kingdom until the colonizers came in, partitioned all the countries and sectioned us into English-speaking and French-speaking.
Well, teach me something. I did not know that. Okay.
Yes. So there used to be 4 kingdoms: the Mali, Ghana, Songhai Empire. Those were the huge empires at the time. And then the Danes came into Ghana at the time. The Dutch came in, and they all came in kind of like a trade. And then from trade, it became missionary. And then they started the slave trade. If you go to present day Ghana and you go to Cape Coast, the Elmina Castle has a slave castle where everyone who was enslaved had to go through. So you go to Ghana, it's kind of the gateway. We say it's a gateway to Africa, because it actually looks like a gate. And that's where most of the slaves came through. So if anyone is listening to me and you're from here, your ancestors, their sweat and blood or something dropped somewhere in that castle before they made it to Americas or wherever they are at the moment. In 1957, we used to be called the Gold Coast by the British when they came in, because Ghana is rich in gold. And then they changed the name when we gained our independence. So we gained our independence in 1957. And the first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, thought it was wise for the country to have its old name, which is Ghana. So we changed from the Gold Coast back to Ghana, which is what it used to be. Yeah.
Interesting. Yo, I'm so excited because I know I'm about to learn so much. Also, the door that you're talking about, is that the door of no return? Like,
yeah,
okay.
Is.
So
yeah.
I've heard that before. So, and I know that other countries also have a door of no return?
None that I know of, because the main settlement areas for slave trade was in Ghana. So wherever they picked people from, they brought them through. Like merchandising, there's always for people to be transported. There were other areas too, but the Elmina Castle is like the main one where everyone came through. I really want every African American to go through that door. Like,
why?
You're gonna make me cry, Phylicia. So here is why I say so. And it will kind of help us go into this. I had a privilege of taking some BYU Idaho students to Ghana. And living in Ghana at the time, it didn't mean anything to me, because I just drive by. We went to visit the place when I was in high school. And then after coming to America and gaining the American experience, I had a privilege of taking some students from BYU through, and every part of me felt like the pain, the anguish, the loss, everything. It's surreal. Like, I don't know how, I'm actually tearing up now.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it, but there is no way you can go through that place and not feel like the thousands
of your
and
ancestors.
Millions of people who have been through. And when the door squeaks, you know, like you feel like, oh,
Oh my gosh. I think we started out like
explain.
quick because I'm like, okay. So we're gonna come back to that because when I tell you, I'm happy that you did that. I'm also mad that I knew nothing about it. You didn't tell me anything about that because I would have loved that, Benoni. So we're gonna fight about that off camera.
Okay.
But I do want you to tell me what does Ghana look like today? So when we return, if I were to go today, what do I expect when I'm walking through the streets of Ghana?
So when you get to Ghana, first of all, they will know you're not from Ghana. And I'll tell you why they would know. Your skin tone as African Americans change. Like even Black people, like when we come to the States and go home, your skin tone changes. Like you're still Black, but there is something about your skin color that's different.
Interesting.
You smell different. So because of the humidity and heat, any small amount of cologne or any sweet scented fragrance you have on becomes loud. So people would know that you're not one of them from Ghana. And when I say you're not one of us, I hope people do not think it's a discriminatory way. It's kind of like, she's not one of us. She is one of us, but not
just
one
that
of us.
We're not native.
Yes. And the first thing that when they find out you're not one of us, that anyone or most people would tell you is welcome home.
Don't tell me that, man. I'm already tearing up like you. Oh my gosh. So the first thing they're going to tell us when we get there is welcome home. Why?
Yes. Because we know better now than we knew before that our royals, our educated ones, our well-built ones have been taken. And so when they come back, it's just nice to welcome people. And if you talk about the people who are most hospitable in Africa, I would say Ghanaians are one of those people. They will smile at you the whole time. Oh. Like you're funny, they will laugh at you. Not funny jokes. Yeah.
It's like an awkward first date, but the whole time you're there.
Yeah. They will smile at everything you say. And the goal is to make sure you don't leave with a bad experience. So they'll take you on give you a good tour of the place, I would say.
Wow. You already got me like tearing up. I'm usually not emotional on my own show, but this is okay. What is one thing? So I love that you said that the hospitality, because you already know me as a Southern girl. Listen, hospitality gets me every time. I've been north, south, east, west in the States. And listen, everybody's going to be offended, but I'm telling y'all, nobody has hospitality down like the South. Like we don't play. You come into our houses, baby, you want something to drink, you want some sweet tea, that's just who we are, the food, so I can go on and on about that. So I feel like, I am Ghanaian at heart, even though I got my ancestry and I'm way more Nigerian. But let me tell you something so funny when you were like, they're going to know you're not from here. So when I was at BYU, Idaho, and something you guys have to know about our experience too, Benoni and I's experience, is that there were 14,000 students on that campus and Black students made up 0.01%. We were about 100 and something students on that campus. And then the majority of that 100 and something were actually continental Africans and not African Americans. There were fewer African Americans than there were from Africa. And so it was just a different experience, but Black is Black when you go to BYU, Idaho, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it did not matter. Like we were, absolutely. So we were all one, and I think that really connected us. And we'll go back to that too. But what do you think is one thing that is like, I know you talked about the hospitality, but like one thing that is unique to Ghanaians, you're like, nope, that's us right there. That's all us.
For me, it's our smile. Like our people would smile and we're blessed with good teeth, I'll say. Like most people that I've met, they can help but show it. So I smile. Like I watch TikToks and then sometimes I don't even know where people are from, but they smile and I would say they're from Ghana. And then you go down and you see the flag or you see something. So it's the one thing that I know, like they smile. And I'd say it's just the kind-heartedness. Like they're like warm and nice people. And so I know. And then the jollof though. Let's not go there. But you would know when you eat our food, you would know this is a.
You listen, we're talking about unifying the diaspora. You finna divide us right here on this show.
No, that's how unifying that. Unify us.
I'm not gonna let you do it just yet. We might let you do it at the end so you can like cut off and then can't nobody cuss you out. But so just a few years ago, the Ghanaian president, he issued what was called the Year of the Return. And so all of y'all's leaders came together and they said, we want our African-American brothers and sisters, and it doesn't matter literally where we were taken from. They didn't say you have to prove your Ghanaian heritage. They said, we want you to come back. And so have you heard of the Year of Return at all?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so I want to hear your thoughts on it a little bit, but I do want to say for those, excuse me, that are watching, that the Year of Return was the president saying, hey, come back. We will grant you citizenship. We will help you become a Ghanaian. We want you back. We love our people. And so hundreds actually of African Americans returned to Ghana and are now expatriates. Like they are literally living in Ghana. And some just went to visit. Some went to visit and were like, okay, what does this look like? Let me just experience Ghana. So some went to visit and some stayed. They're literally still there. So tell me a little bit about that, Benoni. What were your feelings about that?
It's the one thing that I am very proud that the president did, inviting everyone to come home. If you've ever had any deep African-American Africa conversation with me, it's the one thing that I always say, that African-Americans need to return home.
You've said that since day one, since I met you. And I remember, and this is something I want to say too, just throw out there, that when I first met Benoni, and he did not have anything against interracial marriages. He did not at all. I want that to be said, because when I say this line, I don't want people thinking no type of way, or feeling no type of way. But he said, when Africans come over here and they marry, and specifically in our church, it is very common to marry white people. So like I said earlier, in our church, because BYU Idaho is a church school, you have 14,000 students on a campus and only 100 and something are Black. If you're not compatible, then obviously, right, you are going to marry someone white. And Benoni said this about not just white people, but Black people too, but specifically for the white people, because they don't tend to go back at all. He said, and I remember you saying this, Benoni, you were like, when an African marries specifically a white person at our school, that is the end of them going back to Africa. They never go back home. And I thought that was just super interesting. You were like, they will rarely even go to visit, but it is the end of almost their African roots, because they tend to assimilate, they tend to not. And it was just so deep for me to hear that about them not going back. So anyway, keep going. I just had to interject that because it was something that it stayed with me, and we've seen that a lot, and not to say that they have to go back, you know what I mean? But anyway, he told me all that and it really stayed with me, but baby, he wasn't playing, because Benoni went back and got him a Ghanaian wife. What? Anyway, moving on to what you said, back to what you were saying. So we were there. You want us to be welcome back. It felt great.
Yes. So it's a one thing that I'm excited that we've done as a country, because I really want everyone to go home. I really want everyone to, and that takes me to this conversation thing I'd always say. And I hope anyone who is watching this knows this. You will fight for the rest of your life at a table that you would never be given a seat at. Like, you would never have a seat at this table because it is not your table. If you want to fight for any seat, go build your own. Go build your own from scratch, because there'll be different ways to get you. There'll be different ways to get you. You will get a piece of the seat, but then there'll be no food on the table. You will get a food on the table, but there'll be no seat to seat. So you would never have it. You will fight for the rest of your life and never have it. And if you're listening to me today, this is not anti-white. This is not anti any country or anything. It is just the truth of it. If you're here for economic reason, stay all you want. But ultimately, you need to align yourself with your roots. Wow. If you are not aligned with your roots, you will fight for the rest of your life at a table that you would never have.
Listen, you sound like The Color Purple, like, all my life I had to fight. And that's how we feel right now. I mean, as African Americans, especially, excuse me, as African Americans, especially, that is so, you spoke to so many of our souls in saying that. And we have this fear, right? Because for 400 years, this is what many of us, this is the only thing we've known, right? Like, how do you leave something that your roots are here? Like, well, sorry, not your African roots, but the roots of your people who fought and died, and you know what I'm saying, are here, but your people, where you belong is somewhere else. And that's really difficult to hear. Boy, you just gonna have me emotional this whole time. Let me move on before I start crying on here. So tell me about, because again, I'm calling this Unifying the Diaspora for a reason. We all know, and it's not a secret, that Africans and African Americans, we have this like rift within us, and I'm over it, right? Like, and I think that so much of it is rooted in white supremacy and the divide and conquer tactics, where we think if we can tell the Africans that they're not African American, and we can tell the African Americans that they're not African, then we can continue to oppress them, right? But, and like you said, one thing that I love that you said is, you were like, we're learning more now. We're more educated now. We know that y'all are us. And I think that is the same thing that's happening here with this movement in America, is we're like, no, baby, we African. Like, we Black, we African, we African Americans, you know, whatever it is. And so I want to know, what were your thoughts about African Americans before you came here? What were the things that you were told? Ooh, I'm ready. I'm scared. Keep going.
So before I came to the States, I'm an 80s child. So everything I watched on the news was the war on crack. It was during that era. So just imagine that every time we tune into the news, which our news station at the time will capture American news, British news, all over the world. And they'll capture the war on drugs, and everything we see on the TV are just Black people in police cars the whole time. So imagine growing up and seeing someone of your kind on the other side of the continent, and every time you see them on the news, they're in like handcuffs, they've done something wrong, the president has to crack down on them, there's something wrong, there's always something to be said. And there was a time that I always thought, I don't know if I like the African Americans there. Like, I feel like our people left and they become a different kind of people on the other side.
Yeah.
And they're rogues, they don't go to school, they're lazy, there's all these opportunities for them to do well, but they're not doing well. And so if you lived on the motherland, you always felt like those on this side are not taking advantage of all the things that they can take advantage of, until I came here. And then when I came here, and then when you experience the African-American life in America, you can relate. Now, not all the Africans can relate. They're still Africans, still have their mindset. The African-Americans are lazy and they're rogues and they're criminals and they have the mindset. It takes education. It's open to understanding the story from the beginning to the end to be able to understand the African Americans. I was saying, Phylicia, the one thing that we cannot connect with African Americans is sometimes it's the accent. It's not that we don't know what to do.
Right.
Sometimes I just don't understand what they said. Some people will say something, and then I look stupid because I cannot understand them, and they think I'm supposed to be able to understand, but I cannot understand what they said. So you can tell that we want to vibe, but I'm not understanding what they said. I was in Mississippi.
Oh my gosh. I can already know.
This guy was talking to me, and I promise you, I left and asked if he spoke English. Because I couldn't tell what he said. And he probably left thinking, who is this guy and I was trying to smile at everything he said, the typical Ghanaian, like trying to smile. But I did not understand anything he said, but that's the light side of it.
Mm-hmm.
The other side of it is, I feel like there is a section of African Americans who feel like those of us who weren't here are responsible for what happened. I honestly agree that nobody can take your people if they do not have the consent of someone at home. So yes, there were people who were lost, there were people who were captured, but there were people who also played a role. You would always have the people who sell out. And so yes, there were sellouts. And I don't speak for the whole continent, but if someone is listening to me today, I apologize on the behalf of all those who did that to you. If we could have the benefit of hindsight to know what was going to happen, I'm sure a lot of them would not do it. And so I'm not going to say get over it, but I'm going to say it's already happened. Let's look at now, those of us who live now, you are the descendants of slaves. We are the descendants of people who sold you. But we apologize for our people, and we want you to accept the apology on behalf of your people as well. I don't think it's right. And I also think another reason why we cannot connect is there's also that fear of the African American. Because if all your life, all you've seen is someone arrested and with drugs and all of that, there's always that fear, like when you run into them, if it's not in a setting where it's a controlled setting, there's always that initial fear, like, what's he gonna do to me? And even though we're the same skin color, there's always that, like, them and us mindset with us.
So, oh my gosh, that was just so good. Benoni, you already know I could always listen to you talk forever and ever. But I want to say this too, as an educator, I have taught many African students, the majority of whom are from Nigeria. We have I wouldn't say high Nigerian population, but the population of Africans that we have are predominantly Nigerian. And each one, right, I have become a part of their family. I just love them so much. But it was also really interesting. It's always interesting as a teacher, as an activist, as a Black woman to see the difference in my African students and my African American students. And I am not comparing them as far as intellect, because my students are brilliant regardless. But there is a difference in knowing where you come from and watching my African students. Like every year, the wisdom that they have. Please do not misunderstand what I am saying. I am not bashing my African American students, nor am I saying they are not as wise. But there is power in knowing your history and knowing your roots and where you come from and having this attached culture that is different from me and my students as African Americans. And so it was always really powerful to see. And some of my students, obviously, that were straight from Nigeria, they wanted to get rid of their accents as soon as possible. And I always told them, you're going to regret that. You are absolutely going to regret that later. When you come into your own, you are going to regret going by your American middle name, as opposed to your, longer first name that, baby, we can learn how to pronounce, we can learn how to say. And so, but there was like there is this jealousy, even now, like I'm learning more about my culture, I'm learning more about my roots, and there's still this jealousy towards y'all, like, man, y'all just know, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I just like I don't know. So I love it though, because I'm like, everything that's meant to be together will be together. And I feel like we will find each other again. And like you said, the way you're just pleading us to come home, I think that we will resonate with that message. I think that we will say it's time. I don't care if it's for a visit, but we will learn like this is where home is. And I think that this is why I always connect with Africans more. Yeah.
Let me ask all African Americans this. Why is it that the first trip you ever make when you make money is Europe?
Oh my gosh.
Why? But you want reparation. You want them to give you money for enslaving you, but you invest your money in your place. And Phylicia is the same thing. That when they tell the African story, it has to be a group of people who are not having food to eat,
right?
So that you are afraid to go back. Mm-hmm. But let me always give you a picture, and somehow this is how I think it is. It's so orchestrated that people actually play into it and they don't realize that they do. But anytime I talk to any African American, and I love when I have those one-on-one moments with them, because I always use the idea of a kidnapper. How many of you would want to live in the home of the person who kidnapped you? Would you say, well, he kidnapped me for 400 years and I helped build that dining table, so I still want to be there even when he frees you? No, you would want to go where you belong. But the good thing that has been done is your home has been made to look very bad.
Just like we were made to look very bad here. So they have done the same thing to us, because when I'm looking, and I did not mean to interrupt, but I had to say this, when I'm looking at the pictures of my friends going back, and my husband and I, Randall, we talk about this all the time. We have zero desire to go to Europe, especially not first. Like there are some places where like, oh, that'd be cool to go one day. But our big trip, the trip we save money, like we want to go to the continent. We want to go back home. We want to see our roots. I mean, we'll talk about that too, because my husband is also Black, but Dominican. So like just that so you ain't talking to us. I don't feel ashamed. I ain't going to Europe, but I have this intense burning and yearning desire to go and be with my people, right? And to sit amongst them. And oh my gosh, you just got me started. But anyway, yeah, carry on. So that one-on-one conversation.
So there's no invest in your continent. And so they've made it's like, okay, you're going to get malaria when you go to Africa. You don't have a place to live. The water is not good. It's all people who do not have food to eat. Mm-hmm. There are people in America who don't have food to eat. They don't have a place to stay. If you're worried about wild animals, there are places in America you cannot walk at night. So it's a giving. It's a give and take. You get to choose like what you want to do with your life. And I feel like take the chance and go home. That's your home. Like, how well to stress this, but can you imagine being somewhere that you can walk and no one is going to tell you cannot be at?
Wow.
And for us Africans who have known, there is no freedom in America for any Black person, period. There is no freedom. For those of us who have known freedom, we know the difference between freedom living at home and here. And those of us you see here, a lot of us are here for the economic reason. I believe in economic migration. If you have to migrate for economic reason, but my heart would always know where I'm from. And I feel like, can you imagine, like a friend invites me to meet somewhere and I show up and I'm late or I'm early and I'm waiting for a response. And right there, I'm beginning to panic that I'm holding a phone and I'm standing somewhere and there's no direction of which way to go. I hope someone doesn't think I'm a threat. I never felt that way when I lived in Ghana. I never ever worried about someone thinking I'm where I'm not supposed to be, or a certain time of the day I'm where I'm not supposed to be at. That is freedom. There can be the idea of freedom that, oh, you're walking around, you get to vote, you get to do everything. But if you constantly have to fight for something, just give it up. Just give it up.
I feel, so you're telling me there's no Karens in Ghana, especially now with power.
Where? Look, in every home, okay, in every home, there will be always that little differences, the tribal differences, the regional differences. But let me tell you this, ultimately, when it comes down to it, our people are always our people. Like, especially in Ghana, like we would have elections and people would say, oh, it's gonna go very badly. There's so much tension on the day of election in Ghana. Phylicia, if I tell you there's not gonna be war the next day on the day of election in Ghana, you would not believe it. Because there's that tension of like, who is gonna be the next president? And politics in Ghana is always kind of tribal too. So there's always a tribal aspect of it. And you feel the tension, like, okay, well, it's going to go bad. And people get worried about the whole thing. The results to be announced. And people will be like, oh, I don't believe in the verdict. I think there is a rigging election and everything. But ultimately, they'll tell you, look, it is not worth it to fight our own people. So we will fight at home, but ultimately we're one people. Like we would always know that like we have each other. And I feel like when you come here, that sense of freedom is taken away from you. And there is kind of a false sense of freedom that many African Americans have here that, oh, I'm free. No, you're not. At a phone call today, you cannot have the same privilege. A phone call today can change your life for good.
Wow.
So like, where is the freedom really?
Benoni, this man finna have me pack my bags tonight. I'm not finna keep playing with you. You in California in the military, and you gonna have me pack my bags to go to Ghana because I need to go home. I want to go back to a question really quick, and then we can move forward. But I wanted to ask you, what did you do? Because we talked about everything that you learned and you saw. And it really reminds me, I don't know, have you ever seen Trevor Noah's stand-up where he's talking about his first time in America? I think it was his first time, but he's talking about how the commercial comes on with the kids and the flies and their, and he's like, oh my gosh. He's like, where is this? This has got to be Detroit. And so I think about that all the time because he's like, I am from South Africa and I've never seen, he's like, we have poverty, but I've never seen skinny, big bellied, fly that like, he's like, I've never seen anybody that poor. And so he was talking, and I think that was the start of opening my eyes to the propaganda that you spoke about, right? Like that he's over here like, is that Detroit? And I'm like, okay, he ain't too far off. Like, we've got some places here where, that's the way that those kids look in that picture is not too far off from places that I have seen here in the States. So you're right when you say, pick what it is that you want to do, because we can see these same images in a white world with white supremacy and white structures, or we can see them where, colonizers have also done that, but we are the majority and we are home. So what battle would you like to fight? Now, with saying all of that, here's my question to you. What did you do to help rid yourself of like shed yourself of the things that you had grown up seeing? Like, what did you do?
I think that education changes everything. Because even though, like, the education, we don't even talk so much about African Americans back home. Like, our education system doesn't talk much about American. We talk about slavery, and most of our books back home actually tell us what the colonizers did for us, the roads they built, the hospitals they built, the things they did.
So nothing is different.
Yeah, so it's more like, oh, they built roads, they developed the area they lived in. I went to Lincoln Memorial High School in Ghana.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So that's how bad it is that we actually idolize these people. And there's still that effect. So it's more of education. But this is what helped me get this. I think the stages in life and the people you run into change you. Because I ran into African Americans, and I thought that BYU Idaho was a controlled environment. So the African Americans I'm meeting there shared the same values of religion as I did. But when I meet people who don't share the African Americans, I can connect with them the same way as I do with the people at BYU Idaho. And the one thing that I have to come to terms with is there are African Americans who are rogues. There are African Americans who are thieves. There are African Americans who do all sorts of things. Like what we see on TV is the real representation of the people. But did they choose to suddenly do that? What is the root cause of why they are the way they are? And so if I'm thinking, if a white female after a week of a little trauma, thinks that she needs 5 years of therapy. How many years of therapy do African Americans need after 400 years?
Wow.
Who you are is not something that happened over a week. It's something that happened centuries, like years and years. So this is a result of a 500 years of a little guy in Chicago. So I'm not faulting him and running away from him. I'm really mad at what led to him being the way he is. Because if he grew up as an American, had the same upbringing as an American, you think there will be rogues? So every time they say Africans are not rogues or they're not like bad people, but African Americans are, we never went through the trauma that the African American went through. So I accept African Americans, those who I feel like they don't fit the mold of like proper, I accept them for who they are because I don't think that they chose to be like that. And I don't think it even helps them to be that way. It's a mindset thing. It's how they think. So I'll share this experience with you. I met some kids from Liberia, and there was a conflict in Liberia. And these kids have been so traumatized that when you clap, there's 4 of them. Their big brother would take the 3 kids, the 3 younger ones, and he would lay on top of them.
Wow.
And you just clapped. So I'm thinking, this is these people for just what, 5, 10 years? This is who they've become. Why do I now get mad about African Americans who are having issues now? It's mental health in the Black community is real.
Yeah.
And I don't think your mental state will be the same if you get the treatment that you got for 400 years. If there is anything, I have love and compassion for my people that they didn't choose to be the way they are now.
One of the things that I'm looking at is all the studies right now that are saying how trauma is passed through the womb from the mother to the child. I think that it's just a very interesting dynamic that we're learning all these things, and yet African Americans are the people that are still getting the least amount of help with mental health. We are, and empathy. When it comes to the things that we do within our community, it's the least amount of empathy. It's like, you should know better. You're this, you're that. So anyway, I wanted to, because Benoni, this conversation, you have changed me today. Like, I love you. You already know that. And I appreciate you, always appreciate your wisdom and your thoughts and your empathy and everything. But if you could give one piece of advice to your African brothers and sisters and your African American brothers and sisters, what would it be in terms of unifying the diaspora?
I would say that we miss you. And we're happy that our story is getting told now. I feel like now we know your story. Technology has helped us to understand your story. It's not then where we only have to read a newspaper that someone moved over. Now you can go live and tell us your story. Now we see live all the things you've been through. And there's the majority of us who share in your pain. Your pain is our pain as well. And your joy is our joy. Like we want to be part of the struggle. And Phylicia, believe it or not, Africans have been for the civil rights in Africa. And African Americans have actually fought for freedom of Africans as well. So it's been like a two-way street in a way, that here in America, there were people in America who were fighting for freedom for people in South Africa, in Ghana, in Togo, and other places. And there were Africans who actually did the same thing on the other side. So the fight has always been both ways. But I would drive the nail in the same direction. Please come home. Just come home. If you want to stay here for the money, please stay. But ultimately, you have a home somewhere, go and build it. If I have any advice.
Wow. So I just wanted to share this really quick because I think it's important. So in 2011, I used to stay with this African family for a little bit, a few months, and Mama and Papa Chingaya are what I call them. And they have 3 sons. And I remember Mama Chingaya is a nurse. She's been in the nursing field forever. She is talented. She is beautiful. She is brilliant. And I am blessed to, have her as my mom, as one of my moms, because, we got a whole bunch in our community. And so I will never forget the day she came home from work and she said, "Oh, Phylicia, let me tell you what happened today." And I said, "Yes, Mama, what happened?" And she said, "This white woman, she told me, oh, and I know she thought she was giving me a compliment. She tells me, oh, you're not like the other Blacks. So you work so hard. You're so smart, Sylvia." And when I tell you that woman's head was spinning, I was like, so she's like, "Oh, Flea, you know what I told her?" And I said, "Mom, tell me what you told her." Because you know me, I'm petty. I'm like, "Mom, what you tell her?" So, so she's like, "Oh, she said, I could barely get it out, but I told her." She's like, "I told her, you don't get to do that. I am Black just like they are Black. We are the same. If I am brilliant, they are brilliant. And just because I work hard does not mean that I am different from them." And so she went on and I was like, "You said all of that?" And she was like, "Oh," she said, "I had to take a break after because I was so mad." But it made me happy that she is also one that understood that, and this is something that happens all the time between Africans and African Americans, is that people love to brag on Africans and they love to tell you how you are different from us, that divide and conquer mentality, right? But at the end of the day, we're not. We are the same people, and Africans would be who we are had they had the exact same experiences, which in a lot of ways our histories are the same. Again, you went to Lincoln Memorial, did you not? You said that, right?
I did.
So, I mean, we have such similar histories. The only thing is, at the end of the day, when we are in the motherland, like you said, we get to fight and then we get to know, but we're still one, right? We're fighting against a system that was never set up and intended for us to grow or be free or any of that. And I want to say this last thing too. It's another line from Trevor Noah, but he said, people always ask him, "How did you colonize a country, like an entire country of Black people? And how did y'all allow white people to conquer you or whatever?" And he said he has to remind them, one, that they had guns. And that's important for the story. But he also said that they were manipulative, that colonizers were manipulative when they came over, and the divide and conquer. And I never thought about it this way, but he said the divide and conquer was real in the sense that what they did was they said, "Oh, you're part of the Ndebele tribe. Don't worry. We're coming after the Shona tribe. And oh, if you're part of the Shona, don't worry. We're coming after the Zulu. We're coming after the Afrikaans. We're coming after whatever, right?" Because it's not like I'm too learned in all of the tribes. But he said that they would make them feel safe so that their people, right, that tribalism that you were talking about, so that their people could feel safe while they slaughtered others. But then once they were done slaughtering those is when they came to these, right? And they had already broken so many. And I think that that's such an important conversation that we lack in this, because we often are divided and then we're being conquered when we need to be united so that we can grow and live and be free. Yes.
Felicia, let me add this. Christianity was the whole reason why it was easy to colonize Africa. If you sit today in America and think voodoo is evil, that is a problem. If you can pray to a doll called Mary, but you do not pray to that little doll you have in your shrine, it's the same thing. You pray to a man that you don't know. His name is Jesus. And you say your prayers to him, but you do not believe that someone in Ghana was able to do some miracle. Let me tell you this, my own tribe, okay? In my own tribe. So in my tribe, if we were to go into the Israelite time, and that's how the tribes are, my tribe will be the Levite tribe. So we're like the priests. And then, so my people were the ones that kept like the history of the shrine, and they perform miracles. And he's going to be like my great, I don't know how long, grandfather. The story is still told till today that there was a time when it was during the festival era, the women cook with fish, and there was no fish at the time. And if anyone wants to look into this, his name is Wolache Odamite. So he was a priestess from my family home. And so there's in our shrine back home, there's this vessel that they have herbs that grew in. So the herbs grew in a pot. And so he took it and he went and dumped it in the ocean. And he told the fishermen to go back and go get fish. And Phylicia, believe me, these people went back and there was fish. They had gone fishing the weeks before and there was nothing. They come back and they had no fish. They came back and there was fish. There was so much fish that day than they've ever had. But if I tell you this story, you would say that's voodoo. But you would believe that a man somewhere walked on water.
Mm.
And the man found disciples whose name were Peter, James, and John in Israel. Are there Peter and James and John in Israel today, present day? No. So Christianity was what they used. Mm. If you visit the dungeon in the Elmina Castle, right on top of right below the church, were the dungeons. So the priest is saying a prayer to God, but below him, there are women who are sitting in their own shit. There are women who are sitting in their own periods. And I'm not going to say it in a nice way because they didn't have anywhere to ease themselves. So they sat in it. They sat there with their wives. Below this priest is a man who is going to walk away from his wife. He is going to see his wife taking. A child is going to see his mom taking. So Christianity, believe me, is the reason why it was easy for them to colonize, because they stripped us of our names. Now my name is Benoni. Where did I get Benoni from? My name is supposed to be Sowah. I'm a royal. My name is supposed to be Sowah. Today I go by Benoni. I go by a consistent name. I'm cool with it. And that's what's me on my records. I can't do anything. I don't have the time to change it. But they strip you of your name and they strip you of your religion. And when you lose your religion, that's the end for you. Until, and this is something I'm also saying to all Africans and African Americans, until we find our true religion, which is the traditional African religion, we will never know peace. Because look at India, they have Hinduism, which is very true to them. You go to Asia, they have their own Taoism and Confucian and all that shit, Buddhism. It's very true to them. You come to us, we have all the religions. And it breaks us. Because now I think I'm a Mormon, you're a Pentecostal, you're this, you're that, and it breaks us. But our true religion is what we need. If we do not find our own religion, we will constantly, and for the rest of our lives, be in need of the white man to save us. Because the white Jesus never saved us. He did not save us. So find your true religion. Go back to your ancestry and find healing through herbs. Like, it makes me mad. Like, how is that evil? How is using herbs evil? But go to the shrines today. There are white people in the shrines today in Ghana learning. Yes, they are learning to be shamanists. They are learning to be traditional, like give birth, like their natural way of giving birth. They're learning to use our herbs. And trust me, in 100 years, if we don't change, they will come back and convert us from Christianity to our own religion.
Wow. Damn, you hit it. That's the part that hit. If we don't find it, they will come back and, oh my gosh. Okay. Benoni, I'm going to cut you off because we got to be done on that note.
All right.
But I want to say this in closing. You are correct in everything. I've been learning more about my roots and ridding myself of a lot of the Western ways that we've been taught to do things. And anyway, I appreciate you saying that. But it's also not any different from the history. We know that Africans taught the colonizers that came. We taught them how to do C-sections. We taught them how to do these modern day surgeries that we taught them so much. And all the spices that they stole and still ain't be used. But okay, so we taught a lot, right? Benoni, I just want to say that I love you and I appreciate your wisdom and everything that you have brought today. I have one last question and then we're going to cut off. Who has the best jollof rice in Africa?
Ghana has the best jollof in Africa. It's close. Like, it is not an argument.
Listen, y'all heard it here first.
We are allowing the argument because, and let me tell all Nigerians this. If you start the whole conversation, if you start the jollof rice, now Nigerians say they use jasmine and basmati and all that for jollof. Ask them, if you start the whole conversation with that Mama Emeka rice, they have some rice in Nigeria that they use. It's called Mama Emeka rice. That rice is not tasty. If you start the whole conversation with that rice and say that's the jollof, no, case closed. I don't, it is.
Benoni, you gotta stop. Okay, so we just unified the diaspora, and here we are. Here we are. Benoni is dividing us. I never asked that question. I don't even know what happened. So, but again, I thank you so much.
But the jollof unifies us, though.
Jollof does unify us.
The fight about jollof is what makes us know that we're actually Africans. Like, we're feuding over food. It's what makes us know.
I love it so much. Benoni, thank you so much for coming on today. I'm just grateful to you. And that's what I want to say. I'm grateful to you. Thank you for unifying us with our African brothers and sisters even more. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hey guys, you've just watched another episode of Black Joy and Bootstraps with your host, Phylicia Jimenez. Please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. As you already know, our goal is to each one teach one. So till next time, guys.